So, man, is it good to be in a podcast studio with the famous Yovel Parrots? How you doing, brother?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. Now, I would say it's great to have you in my podcast studio, but actually, this is your podcast studio.
Yeah,
Anybody who has heard me before, I've mentioned you a couple times, but what you're doing with Let's Do Podcast is really awesome.
yeah, we're trying to give the best environment, to give the people the ability to create their own podcasts, make them tons of content, high quality leads, to build their social media, and we're doing everything for them, so it's good.
It's amazing. It's also nice to be with somebody who's young and right. I'm usually with old dudes, except for my son Yuta.
Yeah,
So it's nice to have some really young, up and coming energy. And anybody who's watching, they're going to see more of me in this studio because we're now suite mates.
yeah, this is the studio in Denver, finally.
So yeah, Mazel Tov, you've expanded from Boulder to Denver.
Yeah, now is the goal to build Denver studio.
Awesome. So yeah, so anybody watching in Denver, we're right in central Denver, and we both chose this office space together because Ariella, my wife, and I needed a new space, and we thought as long as we're finding new space, why don't we partner with Let's Do Podcast and Yoga?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most beautiful stuff that you bring, like you give me the option, the opportunity, and I for sure jump on the opportunity first to be next to you. Like I look at you as a family, and I came to USA and I become really good friend of Yuda and become really good friends as a family. I feel that too.
Yeah.
And the same moment, like what you're doing and the people that you work with, and I think every man, every person that only will talk with you once, he will get by far more understanding about himself. Like example, me. When I came here, you explained me, you sent me the Enneagram test and you
Mm,
explained me about that. And right now, in every aspect in my life, I know how I'm gonna react. So I
hmm
think about my reaction before,
mm.
and I know that like how I'm gonna be in relationship. So my relationship become by far better. So everything got another level up.
It's amazing. Yeah, let's talk about that. So you're an entrepreneur by
Trying to be,
nature.
yeah,
Well, even if you're not necessarily doing a business and you are doing a business, entrepreneur is a spirit. It's a
yeah.
mindset. Some people have it, some people don't. So, what's your Enneagram type? You remember?
My Enneagram type is it's eight wings. Like I acting like eight,
Mhm.
thinking like seven, feeling like three.
You're like a master Enneagram teacher now. Most
Yeah,
people don't know that. Yeah, you're right. We don't have a type. These are just energies,
yeah.
right? Like I wear a number here, 119104, as a reminder of the danger of numbers. This was Viktor Frankl's number in Auschwitz.
Ah,
And he was reduced to a number, 6 million numbers. Numbers are dehumanizing, right? So when I teach the Enneagram, you're not a number. It's how you act, it's how you think, it's how you feel. You
yeah.
described it beautifully. And so then when we know that, we can be more conscious. We can respond, like you said. So let's dig into that a little bit. So, and by the way, if there is an entrepreneurial triad combination, it's eight, three, and seven.
Yeah,
Like if you have one of those, you can be an entrepreneur. If you have all three, you're gonna be an entrepreneur.
that's the goal.
That's the goal. So, but your core type, from what I remember, is a three,
No,
three,
it was it,
seven.
it was seven or eight, like seven or eight. It was like
No, you're too nice to be eight.
it's
So
debating about that.
I think getting to know you, I think it's definitely a seven. A seven is a visionary, right? Like you see possibilities where other people see sort of dead ends. Wouldn't you say that's part of your ability?
Yeah, you can take example about my last 4 months in USA. You come
Mhm,
to a country, barely know the language,
mhm,
and try to build yourself a business without any option that you're gonna be successful
mhm,
because I don't have family to support me. I don't have like where to go right now if
mhm,
something does not happen.
mhm,
But I have the vision. I want to be successful,
mhm,
and I really believe that when you say something, you follow after your word.
mhm,
It's like the most powerful thing in the world.
mhm. Yeah, you have a lot of eight in you too. But for the record, if things don't go well, I have a huge basement. But
That's good.
I'm not worried about you. Um, yeah, you bring a lot of the Israeli startup nation entrepreneurship to the States. Were you
Yeah.
involved in the entrepreneur community in Israel?
Yeah, for sure. I got three different business in my time in Israel, and my father owned a business 40 years. Now we have like bunch of them.
Mm,
Because I always like say in business, you need to focus in your first business when you're starting to make money.
mm,
You need to understand how you can expand your income.
mhm,
Because you can see the millionaire and the billionaire, they have like couple of incomes.
mhm.
Uh, so I always was involved. I did my podcast in Israel, Business Against All Odds, that I interviewed Elon Musk of Israel and all the strongest people in
Mm.
Israel business, and that was my biggest involved.
Let's talk about that because my passions are coaching men, guiding men, executive coaching, helping, guys in business become great leaders, and peer groups bring get men together. And I'm an entrepreneur by nature. And one of the things I absolutely loved living in Israel, and it's baked into Judaism, but it's really seen in Israel, is that entrepreneurial mindset. So maybe tell our audience a little bit about why is Israel the startup nation?
First, in Israel, there is no any reason that Israel will be a successful country.
Mhm.
Like if you go into 1948, we was established a country without any army, without any tanks, without anything over there.
We'll go back to the 1800s. It was just swamp,
Yeah,
right? Even worse.
and in the same moment in 1948, all the countries around us didn't want that we will be exist, and we don't have nature that can give you like Qatar that
Natural
they have, yeah,
resources.
resources, yeah, exactly. And we understand that we don't have other option just to be a startup nation, to be exist. And when people try to hunt you 24/7, all the country around you, and even people inside your country, they don't want you to be in the country. They
Mhm.
don't want you to be exist.
Mhm.
You don't have other option.
Mhm.
And that mentality bring you the understanding that if you will not do something that will be huge influencer about the world, huge influencer about where you live in, nothing will happen. And you
Mhm.
can see all the country around us like in 1948, there was like maybe 20 level above us. Right
Mhm.
now, there are 20 level under us
Mhm.
because we don't have time. We
Mhm.
need to do it stuff right now, and this is why you can see the biggest exit right now of Wiz company that Google bought them in $32 billion, I think.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Israel has more startups per capita than anywhere in the world outside of Silicon Valley,
Hmm.
right? I mean, if anybody's interested who's watching this, it's a little dated at this point, but it's still a good book, Startup Nation,
Yeah.
and lots of books around it. So, I like I like teaching about Israel and the is entrepreneurial spirit. I also love teaching sort of the Jewish roots, not from a religious perspective, but from a philosophical worldview perspective. And um, when you have to learn how to survive for thousands and thousands of years, that's a skill set,
Yeah.
right? And that survival tactic is passed down from generation to generation to generation. So in my experience, both technically being Israeli, living there, and also Jewish, it's the best of what Judaism has to offer,
Hmm.
right? My teacher, Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, said it's transforming tragedy into triumph. And whenever you're around that Israeli spirit, like it's just this, yeah, let's do podcasts.
Yeah.
Yes, we can kind of mentality. It always is so inspiring to see or be around Israelis who just embody that.
Yeah, it's different mindset because you
Yeah.
can see that we lost a lot of friends during the correct war,
Mhm.
and you can choose how to look about it. Like you can say, okay, I can be sad, I can cry all day long, or I can take the light and show to the world how amazing there was. And in everything in life, you can decide like there is only one thing that you can control, and it's your attitude about life, because you cannot control that maybe one day you will go outside your house and some truck, semi full trailer will crush you and kill you. You can't control that. But what you can control is how you will react to different situations of your
Yeah.
life.
It's why Jews have been obsessed with education
Hmm.
because over the millennia, we have been stripped of everything. You can take everything, but you can't take this,
Yep.
right? And I don't think it's just about, book education. I think it's about real life experience and how do we use that? One of the things I love about, Jewish people is we weren't allowed into medicine, so we created psychiatry, right?
Okay.
Jews created psychiatry because they weren't allowed into traditional medicine. Jews weren't allowed into law firms, so we really got specialized in litigation and we became experts at it. Like this is all throughout Jewish history, and same with Israel, right?
Yeah.
We focus on the things that, for instance, and I'm telling you, and you can pick up on this. There's a reason why Israel's the leader in cybersecurity, right?
Hmm.
Nobody else even comes close to Israel. Nobody else has touched it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, I think that the biggest difference between the and I saw a podcast that they speak about the Jewish, not about only Israel. They
Mhm.
speak about the Jewish, and it was a rich businessman, and he say, you know why all the Jewish are rich? And he say about they speak about the roots, and he say in the Jewish religions, when you're not healthy and you don't make money, it's like you embarrass. To make money is the regular, is the casual, to be in safe location. And right now, to be safety, to be get freedom is money.
Yeah. And it's not about the money. That's the stereotype. It's about freedom
Yeah,
and power. And that's what you're talking about, right?
yeah,
Because Israel is where it is right now, secure because of its financial well-being, able to buy and create the Iron Domes and everything else. So it's about freedom and security. Total aside, but you were talking before about when everybody around you wants you dead. And actually Israel turning that into an advantage. And here's my example. It's like the 1800s, they were shipping tuna fish from New England to England. They had a problem though. They were shipping them live in aquarium type, cargo containers. Fish were disproportionately dying. They weren't making it. They,
okay.
they tried to figure out how do you keep the fish alive? They tried everything. Finally, they figured out put a shark in the tank because that shark is that tension. Those fish kept swimming. They were healthy when they got to England because of that shark, right? You need that tension. I wish it weren't true, but it is true.
Yeah,
Everybody around you wants to kill you. You create cybersecurity. You create Iron Dome. You create these things because it makes you sharp,
yeah, there
right?
is example about when people retirement after 5 years, most of them dead because they got a meaning, they did something in their life. Now they does not do
So true.
nothing. This is why people, Shimon Peres, work until one day before he died. And
Wow.
people keep doing that because this is give them a meaning, give them something to do.
There's an interesting fact. There's no word in the Hebrew Bible. You tell me if it's in modern Hebrew for retirement.
There is like in the modern what is like prisha. It's like they take from a different world, like ability to say that.
In history, in the Torah, there's no word.
No,
There's
there is
not
no.
there's no concept for it, right? What do you mean retire? You're going to work until you stop so that you can just what? And by the way, the word retirement, terrible word. I mean, in English, retired. I'm tired, right? It means to
Yeah.
withdraw. And I've when I was a rabbi, I did a lot of funerals for guys who worked their whole life, right, to get to the top, then they retire, and like you said, it's just
Boom.
boom. And I would do the funeral a few years after they retired. Tragic.
That's this is why when you do something, try to do it for like that will stay forever and that you can be part of that. And even if you pass that to your son or you don't need to be in that position anymore, try to find something else. Try to create. This is why you can see a lot of biggest company that we know, KFC. The entrepreneur was 65 when he started. I don't remember exactly the age. He was in the last part of his life. And McDonald's, he was 50 something.
Mm.
Like a lot of entrepreneurs starting stuff when they're finished their work, when they retire.
Or you look at Elon Musk, who just keeps,
Yeah,
new, like it's just amazing. It's
yeah,
called, generativity. You just keep creating,
yeah.
and that's
That
like
guy is amazing.
that's amazing. It's an amazing man, amazing story. But you know, getting rid of this idea that you work at something you just hate until you can stop and now enjoy life. It's just a crazy concept. It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, I'm involved with,
Man
Man
uprising.
Uprising, is bringing men at midlife, older than you, my age, onwards, to start to go beyond just work. Because work is important and absolutely, you got to make a living, right? Saying in the Torah, "Ein kemach, uh, ein Torah." No
Yeah.
bread, no Torah. So you need bread. You need the fundamentals. But you do get to a point where it's enough and more isn't better, right? One more decimal point. A million. Now I need 2 million. Now I need 5 million. Now I need 10 million. Now I need a billion, right? At some point in there, it's just more.
Yeah.
And you need to go deeper. And so these guys, Man Uprising is for guys my age and older to start to find beyond work, like what is that next thing? What am I about? What's my purpose? And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, do you think your contemporaries, 20, how old are you? 20,
26.
26-year-olds, um, need a version of Man Uprising in their life?
I can tell you it starts when you are 26.
Hmm.
You can see, I can take you right now to talk with a lot of people in my age, a lot of people that in college. I talked with a friend of Yuda, and he told me, he told me, I don't feel that I have meaning in college.
Hmm.
And everyone told him, enjoy college, just party, just enjoy it. And I told him, you don't have to listen to them. If you want to do something else, do. And he started to build his career. And right now we have a better job than he was planning to get because he started 6 months before he finished college. And I think it's starting in early age. People say in high school, like in Israel, it's the army. So people go into the army, they have a lot of meaning, but then they go to the trip after the army.
Mhm.
They finish the trip, they don't know nothing about what they want to do.
Mhm.
They have nothing beside work. They feel that their life already killing them. And there is the Saturn return. You ever heard about it?
Mhm.
That in 28 there is two options. Or you're gonna died from inside and be exist from the outside,
Mhm.
or something great. You can decide if it's great or bad will happen to your life. And you can see a lot of people in 26, 27, 28 got lost.
Mhm.
And the opposite, I think it's more important to start in 26, 27, 28, to start to find your meaning, start to find what you want to do in your life. And that's where it's need to start.
It's amazing to me. You saw because you produced the podcast with my son Yuda and I, about finding your why, your purpose. And I ask guys all the time, and these are like successful 50, 60-year-old men, what's your why? And they can, like give me these cliches, these, like things they read in a Hallmark card, or
Mm-hmm.
they tell me about their business. They've never spent any time trying to figure out what is that thing. They certainly didn't start at 26.
Yeah.
But I think if they did, you start to figure it out in your 20s, your 30s, and then you end up where I am in life and you're clear, right? You know your why. So bringing younger men in earlier, is part of my passion. It's one of the things I know we want to do with Man Uprising.
No, I agree. And I just can't imagine, like, I will have to come for one of the meeting of the Men Uprising because there was something that you say in one of the podcasts that it's really sitting all the time is like about real friendship
Mhm.
that you think is real friend of you, but till you have cancer and you cannot talk with them about that. And I think that real friendship is the most important tool that you can get in your life. Because if you have a real friend that in 2 a.m. will be there for you,
Mhm.
that's real friendship.
It's amazing how few guys, I'd like to hear the difference too between Israel and America because I do believe there's a difference. But how many guys are my age, 50s, and they're running businesses, they have 100 employees, they have tons of friends, they have golfing, and I say to them like, "Who's your guy?" Who I don't have one, not one. I mean, they have the buddies, but again, like you said, 2 a.m., cancer, whatever it is, it's like they have nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I, having lived in Israel, I know it's different. Um, what's your experience of the difference between cultures?
So in Israel, like we talked before, people try to hunt you, and I think from suffering, people become more real friends. The friendship becomes stronger. Like you can see, my best friend, we met when we trained to the army.
Mhm.
So we got 1 year that they try to train us to the special forces. So they try to break you in every different way when you are 17, 18. So that year make us really good friends because when you get a scratcher with your friend
Mhm.
and you suffering, he's suffering, and all the other friends suffering, and no one can switch you. But then a friend that doesn't able to move his body anymore, he come inside your stretcher to help you. This is make a friend, real friend, like brothers. And even in the army, when you have your squad, you're fighting together. You see people dying next to you. You have a mission. And I always say about the army is the best and the worst time of your life. The worst time of your life because you are in the worst condition that ever exists. Let's say in Gaza that we fought, and the best time of your life, it's because you are full of meaning. You have the biggest why of the world. You're fighting and you imagine your family behind you. That's strong.
Is there much of a suicide epidemic in Israel? I already know the answer. Because there is one here in America. In fact, this morning I was with a guy who's running an organization to help veterans, who are dealing with suicidal thoughts.
Mhm.
Suicide, from my understanding, is not nearly as obvious or pronounced in Israel. Is that true?
It's I just read the news today that some guy that killed certain terrorists and fought and saved thousands of people in the 7th of October got suicide because he was not be able to live with his thoughts. I think it's in everywhere. And
But here it's an epidemic. It's I forget the numbers. I used to know the numbers, but it's beyond the normal rate. I mean, it's not so common in Israel.
yeah, it's less common in Israel because everyone going to the army.
And another big difference is I've talked to veterans on both sides, is in Israel, a friend of mine who's pretty high up in the IDF said there's never been a war fought in Israel where somebody in the unit hasn't been able to see his home, his village, his community. So you know what you're fighting for,
Yeah.
right? That's why. That's meaning.
Yeah, yeah. Like I fought 20 minutes for my own. I didn't flew to different area and I drove with the car, stopped the car, went into the base, take equipment and walk to war.
Right.
That was my experience. And that's what I always ask my friend that they are veterans in USA. Like, what was your why?
Mhm.
Like, why you went to fight for for your country?
Mhm.
Like, there is Mexico don't try to kill you. They don't try to kill you, and they send you to
Iraq or
Iraq, Yemen. Yeah,
Afghanistan.
my friend fought in Yemen too, and like I told him, why? It can't influence USA. What is your why? And a lot of them does not have why.
It's hard. And you see the consequences of not having your why. This is Viktor Frankl who said in the Holocaust, you could tell who was going to make it and who didn't by who was smoking cigarettes. Because if you saw a man smoking cigarettes, gave up. He didn't have a why. Because those cigarettes could be used for one little piece of bread or something.
Mhm.
And so that was the sign that the guy no longer had a why to live for. And he said, if you don't have a why, you can't endure your how. And that's a big problem today, not just in the military here, but in back to man uprising, knowing your why.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know your why, life is going to present you a lot of difficult hows. And so that's one of the things I really want to bring to 26-year-old men. I can't tell somebody their why. All I can do is create a space for you to explore your why.
Yeah. Again, I think that everyone that ever was thinking to do the Enneagram test or doesn't know what is that, you have to do the test.
Hmm.
I think it's like life-changing test that if you really like listen to that and read, like you have the documents that you send after the test,
Mhm.
like if you really follow that, it will help you to understand
Mhm.
who you are. And before you understand your why, I think you need to understand who you are.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people say my why is like to just make money to feed my family. That's great.
Mhm.
But who you are before you're gonna do it, and especially for younger age. No, like you can see a lot of people that get confused. Who I am, what I gonna do. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do today. I will know what I want to do more 20 years from now. I think it's important.
And you live in Boulder, and I see this a lot in college towns. You drop off these kids into a place where other lost kids. Did you ever see Peter Pan? You remember Peter Pan?
Yeah.
He lived with the Lost Boys. And every time I go there and I see, it's like being with the Lost Boys. And they're just sort of following each other around in this endless, meaningless sort of loop, which is why they gotta smoke so much and drink so much. And it's just like this spinning. And that's one of the things I think Man Uprising can do is bring those lost boys into a community of men
Mm-hmm.
who aren't lost or who at least are looking and having that mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, if there is a movie, it's called The Forge, that it's kind of men uprising, but it's maybe it's the same. It's but they make the host make every one of the men's over there
Mhm.
to take someone younger under his wings.
Mm.
So they don't only guide them in business or whatever they're doing, they
Mhm.
guide them to be a better man.
Mm.
And you see how it's amazing because it's not 1 year process, it's 3 years. Every one of the old guy have that's one of the rule. You have to commit to take someone younger than you, like 20 years, 30 years younger than you under your wings. And they coming for all the meetings and they speaking, they build each other. That's you need to see that movie, but that's beautiful that because people younger, like 20, 25, 26, 30, need just one guy that will believe in them,
Mhm.
will show them the way, and will have to guide them.
For thousands of years, we lived in tribes, small groups where
Hmm.
the community, the tribe, the elders would raise you, right? They'd be up, and back in Israel, not even that long ago, in the kibbutzim, right? You had that influence of positive male role models. I coach men, and I get a lot of 20 somethings who don't have that in a dad. They don't know any men. They didn't have that grandfather. Or maybe they did, but now they live in Denver and they're 2,000 miles from their community.
Hmm.
So these times are different. And now we need to create tribes for these guys.
Yeah, and maybe to bring more younger people to the men uprising.
Yeah, so that's the thought is as my son Yuta is graduating, who you're friends with, can we start to reach out to the 20 something to get them to do this before they need it,
Yeah,
right? Now. So that's the goal.
I think they're already ready for that.
I hope so. I think it's exciting. One of the, things that I've seen so I'm in a peer group. We do monthly peer groups, and peer group is 9 guys. We get together once a month. We're also doing it. I have one that's virtual and one that's in person, and we use the Enneagram. So it's interesting that you brought in the Enneagram because one of the things it's doing is giving us a way to communicate, like a
Mm.
language. So if I know you're an Enneagram 7, right, I know so much more about you. So we're just getting to know each other at a deeper level.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
No, I can tell you about myself that only that you learn about yourself a lot, but then you know how to sit in better in meeting,
Mhm.
how to sell stuff to people. If you see someone that doesn't stop speaking about ideas, about what he want to do, about
Mhm.
he can in one meeting bring 10 ideas. You know that is seven, so now you
Mhm.
need to let him focus about the one real thing that he really want. And if you can, and like you tell me about my partner, that she is a two,
Mhm.
because I give you, and now I know that she want to be like no one look at her because she always give the stage for me. So now I look at her more in their own way, and she feel by far more love for me. That for me is just the change the way I talk to her,
Mm.
and that's amazing.
That's beautiful. Yeah, the helpers just constantly wanting to give and they don't learn how to receive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they can surround themselves with people who take advantage of that and just want more and more and more. But you're doing this work of like, I want to know myself, I want to know my partner, how can I respond to her? And so I know that she's going to give. Maybe I shouldn't receive that. Maybe I should say, what do you need? Right? And that's mastery.
Yeah,
And that's why this relationship will work because you're putting in this kind of effort.
and I think we only live once. And if we can make our life a little bit better with our partner, with our friends, with our family, with ourselves,
Mhm.
like we have to do it. We have to learn. I think it took me maybe an hour and 30 to do the test and learn about myself.
Mhm.
And it's give me so much tools.
Hmm. What's your girlfriend's name?
Lily,
Lily?
Lily.
Lily.
Yeah.
Um, did she take the test? I don't think she took it.
No, she didn't do that, but she is a therapy. She's a talk therapy,
Oh,
art therapy for children.
have you talked to her about the Enneagram?
Yeah.
What was her response to it?
She said that it's great tool that she used that like when she did the test when she was like 16 or
Oh,
17, and but she didn't do it in the last like after college,
uh-huh.
after 7 years of education. And for children, like she work with that, I don't think it's really fit because they are like 4, 5, 6, they are still find a way.
Mhm.
And that's another issue that for me that with young children
Mhm.
that needed therapy in that age because the parents doesn't give enough attention for the children too.
Mhm. And or they don't know their children. So I have four kids, as you know, they're all four different Enneagram types.
Yeah.
I used to parent them like I'm the dad, I'm the Abba, I'm the dad, and they're the kids. Now I parent them like I'm an eight, and this one's a one, and this one's a four, and this one's an eight, and this one's a nine.
Mhm.
And when I say something to my eight, my daughter Maya, right, I got to say it a little intensely. You know, she's thick. And when I say it to my daughter Shoshana as a nine, peacemaker, she's sensitive. They have to be parented in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Enneagram, is it gives me a language like the guys in my group, like my kids, like my wife, to speak to them on their terms.
Yeah, it's like when I talk with Yuda.
Hmm.
I in the beginning tell him everything direct and like you talk with an eight, like you talk with
Hmm.
Maya, because that was my thinking. You didn't did something wrong, that's not good. Like no, brother, like more from emotion with
Hmm.
you. Like man, if you don't come for a podcast, you don't only like miss waste my time, you waste your time and you waste my money, and that's not something that you want to do. And then he understand and he say, you know, you're right. And from that moment, he never late for me again,
Yeah.
and that's rare.
Enneagram one is perfectionist, principles, responsibility. And
Yeah,
so if you speak to that, it's like, whoa,
yeah,
right? There are other types. If you speak to that, it's like, you know what? Like, I
yeah,
don't hear you. So yeah, look, I love Israel. This was not the easiest thing in Israel because Israel sometimes is really just like one size fits all.
slap in the face.
Yeah, intense and whatever. And some of that's one of the things I do love about America is there's much more of this sort of nuance and listening um, and yeah, so I don't want to throw Israel under the bus, but that was tough living in Israel in that from that regard.
Yeah, it's like there is the video of the Khabib Nurmagomedov about his championship, and he talked with Joe Rogan,
Mhm.
and Joe Rogan speak about children, and he say if you want to make your child a man, send him to Kazakhstan in 2, 3 years and forget.
Mhm.
Because Kazakhstan is like Israel, it's like really tough.
Mhm.
In Israel, it's like more, he will become a man from the
Mhm.
army.
Mhm.
Over there, you send him to be a wrestler, and then he will. There is not, you don't have other option.
Mhm.
You have to learn to fight on your life.
Mhm. And that's great if you want to survive.
Yeah,
And it's an important starting point. I just had this conversation with somebody who was a military vet, and his struggle is that he knows how to survive. And in military, you've been a soldier, I haven't. You need to react,
yeah,
right? The challenge is if it's this in civilian life, then you're not responding and
hmm,
you're surviving. And what he said is he's tired. I'm working with him. He's tired of surviving. He wants to thrive, wants to live. And so what we're doing is we're using the Enneagram, we're using other tools to what I call expanding the space before something happens and he acts. How do we expand that space and choose our response?
yeah.
So that's the work.
That's amazing. It's important.
Um, in the army, though, because I'm coming fresh off this conversation with him, um, you don't have that luxury. You don't have that time. It's just boom, boom, boom. Tell me a little bit about your army experience. I know it's pretty recent. You were in Gaza not
Yeah,
that long ago.
I finished in Gaza like 11 months ago, something like that, 10 months, 11 months.
Very recent. How's the transition been from not only did you come to America, you came to civilian life
Yeah.
after the army?
So I was civilian a little bit before too, because I
Mhm.
did we did 4 years overall, 3 years before finished, like 18 to 21, 22.
Mhm.
And then there was 3 years that you just do reserve here and there,
Mhm.
training, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then the war start. So the war was like from 0 to 100. And you have to go to war because that's your responsibility.
Mhm.
And then you're at war, all your life stopped. So you used to be a soldier, then you used to be civilian, you start
Mhm.
to build your life,
Mhm.
and it was like only 3 years like building our life. So it's been in college, we've been in the beginning of work, business, everything was really fresh.
Mhm.
And then you can do nothing. And I found myself inside Gaza with a Nokia phone because that's the only phone that I have service, talking with my employee, trying to figure out how I can push the project forward. But in the same moment, every second you can get RPG to the building. Like one time I talked with my friend and we get RPG to the building and I run downstairs because the guy say we got it and starting to fight.
Mhm.
And my friend wasn't in the cell phone like because he tried to help me with the business too. So all the like everything become really tense. And then I came to USA from like a moment that you are with a machine gun, with a pistol, with a vest,
In
sleeping
Gaza,
in Gaza in uniform. I finished in Sunday my reserve and I arrived in Wednesday to USA. Then you just everything like is mellow and you enjoy life. You don't need to look behind your back. You don't need to scream to your friend. You don't need to be in with the question when the RPG gonna come, where the terrorists gonna hit me.
you don't need to, but were you still doing that for a while?
I think it will stay with you forever.
Mhm.
But this is good and bad
Mhm.
because it's good because you always allow it on your life. Like every place I go, I see where is all the exit. I try to understand more about where I am. About every time I go to a place, like I know all around us with the maps. Like if something happened, I know how to walk around the streets to go downtown Denver to go to the station. If something happened, but it's like something that will be built in yourself,
Mhm.
but the same moment you need to know how to separate that.
Mhm.
And I think that's what they teach you in the special forces. It's 0 to 100
Mhm.
and 100 to 0,
Mhm.
like to make the switch in a second
Mhm.
and how to separate that.
Are there some tools that you have to do that?
So I can give the best advice for people that wants to learn how to do the 0 to 100 and 100 to 0. The 100 to 0 is more hard.
Mm.
It's
Because
just
0 to 100 is like adrenaline and
yeah,
survival.
you got RPG to your building and you just from
You're at
zero.
100.
You have to be allowed to protect your family.
Mhm.
And family over there it was your squad. But
Mhm.
even if you are right now home with your family and something happened, you need to be like
Mhm.
your switch will become really easy.
Nature takes care of it.
Yeah. But from back from nature to regular life, that's the hard part. The
Mhm.
100 to 0. The best advice that I can say to people, like what I love to do, is just go outside and look about the skies and get like clear mind.
Mhm.
The same moment to get like all scream really hard if someone wants, you can just scream and you see how a lot of stuff go outside
Mhm.
him. And then after you scream, your like body like become high, and then when you finish,
Mhm.
you feel like your body temperature go low.
Mhm.
And I just understand that the life is too short to hold that inside you. And the moment that you understand the life is too short, you need to learn how to enjoy them,
Mhm.
how to build them, and how to do something great.
Mhm.
That will be a game changer for yourself.
So building a business, right,
Yeah,
is easy in the sense of it's not Gaza and it's no RPGs and it's not life or death.
yeah,
So, being an entrepreneur, building a business, you have perspective.
yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying to my friends. They ask me how we can do it. I tell them, brother, you and like you in the last 6 years, play with your life. You take risk about your life. Every mistake that you will make, maybe will do, you will not be exist anymore.
In the army.
In the
Yeah.
army, right now, I'm in position. So if I will do a mistake, what will happen? I will be with 26 again without any more money,
Mhm.
or be 30 without any more money.
Mhm.
Like I play on money right now.
Mhm.
So what I don't afraid from nothing that will happen. Worst case scenario, I'll be back to my parents' house in Israel and we'll start all over again.
I think it's one of the biggest problems in America, and I think it's why we're dealing with so much social crap right now, is because we drop off these kids in universities at age 18 and say, you know, have fun. As opposed to, I see it with Israel. You go to the army, you get real serious real quick, then you go to college. It's a different experience.
Yeah,
That's why there are no fraternities on college campuses in Israel,
no
because
parties even.
there's no need for it,
Yeah,
right? You find your party, you find your fun, but that's not why college exists.
yeah,
You ask most kids at Boulder, They happen to go to classes, right?
Yeah.
And so without that service, and like I do believe, I think we should have mandatory military service, but most people don't. But at least have some type of shirut, some type of service for 1 year, a gap year where you're getting beyond
Yeah.
yourself. I think it's something they could learn from Israelis.
Maybe an army, or if not an army, so something else. Like you
Yeah.
have like in Israel, even if you are before the army,
Hmm.
you have to volunteer from when you are 16 to 18.
Hmm.
So even to volunteer with firefighters,
Hmm.
there is like every time, every firefighter have three volunteers under him. So yes, they don't allow to do everything that firefighter doing, but they're coming to every stuff. So to connect the firefighter can only run to the fire, and they do everything that connected to
Hmm.
the fire vehicle. So then it's help to the fire to firefighters. The children become men's because now they have responsibility not only for themselves.
Hmm.
And I think even that it will be great.
So my teacher, Viktor Frankl, calls that self-transcendence, right? Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
The top one is self-actualization. There are videos of Viktor Frankl and Maslow debating.
Okay.
And Viktor Frankl said, you're wrong. Self-actualization, to be the best Yovel you can be, you have to transcend yourself. Other,
Okay.
that's an other. That could be your cause, a country. It could be your parent. It could be something besides you,
Something bigger than you.
something bigger than you. And that's what I also see in these college campuses. I see it with the men and man uprising. We're hungry for something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I do miss it having left Israel, because in Israel, I never felt that missing piece.
Yeah.
It's a much more committed community.
You think that the biggest change of your son knew that because you saw that live was when 7th of October happened and he started to be really involved in SSI?
100%. Mea chus.
Yeah.
Um, October 7th, I don't wish it, just like I didn't wish the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But that's back to how we started. That's not a choice. The question is, what do you do with it? And that's how you win the second victory, right? We couldn't win the first victory. We were slaughtered on October 7th, but we can win the second victory by becoming better Jews, human beings, Israelis. And that's what Yudah decided to do.
Yes.
I'm nothing I can do about the dead, but I can tend to the living, and I can fight the haters. And so I saw within him something awaken that's that self transcendence, 100%.
Yeah. When you have something bigger than yourself, your why become clear, and you will find everything else that you need to do to make that work.
And that's why, come full circle, we have to wrap up. Man uprising to me is so important, because instead of the bullshit golf friends, poker friends, football friends, now these guys are coming together. And I wrote a blog a while back called "Who Will Carry Your Casket?" Your death casket. And it's a very profound thing if you think about. It's an honor, right? And in
Yeah.
Judaism, it's a mitzvah. It's a commandment. Um, who deserves to carry your casket? It's the guys that were around you that carried you in life. And if you don't have six of them, or however many, then have you really lived? And so providing men of all ages a space to have that self-transcendence. Oh, so good.
How people can find the Men Uprising group.
Go to manuprising.org, manuprising.org. We're starting to build it out much more. Have a few groups going here in Denver. Have our first one virtually, starting to scale up. And so wherever you are, you now can learn more about podcasts. You can learn more about the peer groups, and yeah, we'd love to get them into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. Well, thank you for being in your studio.
Yeah. Thank you for the knowledge. I appreciate that.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah.